Just seemed like a really good place to bring up children. And at that time we had a newborn daughter, a year old, and a son of 9 or 10.
I have the idea of an intentional community all my life. I am Jewish, I grew up with that in my blood. If we would have stick together, we will survive.
I was quite impressed with Thera and the structuring of it.
So we had the buildings in the valley, and people would bring tents or a trailer, something like that. And we'd pretty much share the buildings, you know.
There was an excitement in the air, and the leader of the group was quite an inspiring fellow.
Robert and Marion, a couple maybe in their mid-40s at the time, had purchased the land, and it was Robert Bose ran the Thera Wellness Center in Vancouver. We needed people with money in the original years. What we found usually was people with ideals and very little money. And literally we had to sell shares in the project to get the money to build the road to the house sites.
The land hasn't been destroyed as in many other parts of the world where people live together. Or like in the city. If you go into the city, the land is destroyed. It's just concrete. And people have to relate to each other in ways that are very unnatural.
We have a 1-year-old. We fully intend to raise him here.
Yep, just been here a month. And I think no huge surprises, but I think it's the difference between knowing something intellectually and actually experiencing it. So you know things are going to take longer than they do in the city. You know there are going to be some inconveniences.
Between Kristen and I, we were well into 6 figures when we were living in Australia, and we don't have a visible income here. So we made a lifestyle choice.
Art for me is universal. My first identity is as an artist, so my community is quite global. I came into Thera and I thought, yes, it will be community here more than I actually realized there is now. Here what I see, there is a community and most of it are ghosts. They don't live here. They're empty houses. And the very few that live here not always have to connect with each other, including myself. You know, I live in my own little world.
Been a lot come with support. 9 months later, hit a brick wall and say, okay, that's it, we're out of here, gone. Financial reasons or relationship or just isolation maybe.
I stayed in the community of Thera for 14 years after I left the place. And I was very involved in all aspects. Just because I didn't live there doesn't mean that I couldn't be involved.
We still have our meetings and we still have our work parties, and that's what I really enjoy is when we do the work together. Talk less, work more.
The problems in the little community are much more in your face.
It's like any small place also, there is a lot of gossip and picking, and that's human nature. That's families, that's lovers, that's everything.
Very few people are up for community, in my experience in life. There's a lot of people getting more interested recently, I think, especially in this location because the property has become inaccessible to working people. But we're learning, we're growing, we're trying. The hippies started it in the 60s. And I lived in a commune kind of thing in the early 70s in England. It had its corruption. But it's all training, you know. We've been in the wrong direction for a long time, my feeling. And the road to getting it right is a long one.
To know that my neighbors are there when I need them and they know the same thing about me. So that can be true in a lot of neighborhoods, but the fact that we did have the intention of creating this network of support.
When I go back there now, we had our 25th anniversary recently, and for me it was a very positive experience to go back and reconnect with people I hadn't seen, some for 15, 20, almost 20 years maybe.
It's an ideal which we aspire to. We haven't really made a big impact on the world. But on the other hand, for 20 years people have been visiting this place and saying, wow, we could do that.
Community for me is another word to love. It's just love. What is community if not love?
As we become more a part of the community, I think I'm going to feel more connected than I would if I was in a city.
The intention was to have community. The reality was it was in process.